system. So we'll go for about a half hour. And I just want to point out that there is a window, the GoToWebinar control panel area. You should have be able to see that and see that there is a space for you to ask questions. I will try to keep the corner of my eye on that as we go. Any questions that I can't get to, I can certainly follow up with or have one of your trainers follow up with after the call. But please do type in there. And like I said, I'll keep the corner of my eye on that as we go through this section on the data import workbook today. So today is all about importing your data into FunctionPoint. And I'm just going to pull over here. Hopefully everyone can see the screen I'm sharing here. I'm just going to pull over here the data import workbook. Now this is something that your sales manager probably will have shared with you. It is an Excel document, and this is really the easiest and best way to get your data into FunctionPoint. Now, you can always manually add data, you can always manually edit data, but having it all put in at one big chunk can be a pretty useful thing to do. So today we'll go through some of the key fields here. I'll also be sure to point out where this all feeds back into FunctionPoint itself. And we're going to go over both the Companies and Contacts tab, which I'm on right now, and then there's also a Staff tab. So we'll talk a bit about both of those today. Excellent. So you guys may or may not have had a chance to log into FunctionPoint as yet, and if you have, you've probably noticed that there is an entire section. Let me just get that in front of us here. This is just my test system here. But you can see there's a whole section to look in companies and contacts, and this is where most of that data is going to be feeding over into. So if we were looking at a company I have just in my test system here, it'll take us there in a moment. So there's a lot of data, addresses, company information, company contact information that can all be pulled over from that import. Let's just look at the workbook itself. So a few of these areas are required. All the areas in yellow are required if you want us to bring over any companies. So any clients, vendors, suppliers that you work with, if you want those brought over to the system, you're going to need to fill in all of the yellow fields. If you have any associated contacts to those companies, those clients, those vendors, those suppliers, you're going to need to fill in the green fields. Excellent. Just give me 1 second. Just had to do something on the other screen there. So let's think of an example here. I'm going to put in just 1 second, please.
Yeah, sorry.
Excellent. We just got a colleague here, Karen, joining in. She'll be able to answer your questions as well, so that'll be a big help. Karen, you are watching and listening, so if I miss something really obvious, please let me know. Excellent. So just getting back to these required fields here. So I want to think of a good company example, which is not coming to me at the moment. So I'm just going to go with something really boring like company ABC here. Company abbreviation, not a required field. This is going to be oh, hang on a moment here. I think I may have made a mistake and inadvertently made Karen presenter, which wasn't my intention. I just need to make her an organizer. There we go. Sorry about this, just some technical troubles that I'm causing myself here. Okay. Okay, so we should be back seeing my screen there. Sorry about that if there was a little glitch in the matrix. All my fault entirely. So hopefully you are seeing my screen here again. I'm just back on this data import workbook document. So I'm putting in just a company name. The next field over is the company abbreviation. Now this will be an area you can certainly put in a 5-character company abbreviation if you have one or would like to use one, but the system will create one for you. So where this comes into play is just going to show up in the system where there isn't enough screen real estate to show the whole company name. So going back to my test system here, for example, just navigating to my dashboard, we can see here in my little jobs pane that we've got a company column but this is where the company abbreviation is showing up. Now, when I hover over the company abbreviation, the full company name does show for me. So it's not going to be a really big deal that these abbreviations be anything in particular. They can be whatever you'd like to be, but you are welcome and encouraged to just let the system decide them for you. And wherever the abbreviation shows up, you will be able to hover over and get the full company name. So company abbreviation, again, it's grayed out. You can leave it blank if you like. Next field over is company type, and we're asking you here to select from a drop-down menu. So you can see we've got pretty common ones here for client, supplier, vendor, etc. We ask that you just leave Office alone. Office is indicating you, whatever your company name is, whatever the company is that's going to be the main users of Function Point, that's the Office. We have this item in here just as an option in the event that you have a multiple Office setup. And if you do, you can certainly talk to us about that. But for most of our users, we just encourage you to use any of these other company types rather than Office. Industry type, open field, can be whatever you'd like it to be. What I see happen here often is clients will put in information such as automotive, legal, graphic design, anything you imagine, and that will come over again to the system. It's going to fill in. If I go to a company, for example, here, let's go to good old North Shore Auto Group in my test system here. Just going to show all the details. There's the industry type field, and that's where that data will pull into. So it can be anything you'd like it to be. In my example system here, in my industry type field, we've got all sorts of examples: charitable, shipping, healthcare, even good old unknown, consultants, fashion. The list can be as long as you'd like. And whatever you put in that industry type field in your data import workbook will come over to the system. Next, we have here company status. So just an option again, drop-down menu, we're looking for active or inactive. We do get the question on occasion as to why the heck would we put in inactive clients. We think it's valuable to bring over clients that you may not be working with at the moment. They may be considered inactive, but hopefully you'll get their business back and they'll go back to an active status. Also, we really encourage you to use Function Point as your CRM tool for all your companies, contacts, vendors, everybody you work with. So including those inactive clients is not a bad idea. Company overview. This field looks really small here on our Excel spreadsheet, but you can really put as much data here as you like. Where that's going to pull over to is this overview field here. Sorry, bad highlighting on my part, this overview field. And it really is quite a large field. There's no limit to the amount of data you can put in here. So in that field in Excel, you can put as much as you like as well. So if you've got a little paragraph description as far as this company goes, you can certainly paste that all in here without any problem. Now let's say for company ABC, who we've used as my ever creative example here, we have a contact we work with there. And let's just use my colleague's name here as an example. Good old Mark Wilson. So we are looking for their first name and last name. All the green fields are required. If you don't know the person's last name or if you don't know their first name, I encourage you to put an initial if you know it, or even putting a question mark or just a period. Put something in there though. There does need to be a value there. So we do know his last name in this case. Contact type. Again, we've got a nice little list of options. This may be a client, maybe this is a staff member of your client, maybe this is a prospect, vendor, etc. Contact status, similar to company status, we're just looking for active or inactive. You do need to pick from one of those as well. The rest of the fields along here, lots and lots of them. All of them optional, all of them grayed out and optional. Don't spend a lot of your valuable time going and chasing up, contact extensions or URL address information. If you don't have it now, it really is straightforward to edit information in Function Point. So you can always add this information in later. But whatever you have, may as well get it in here and just do it as the big import. Another field I like to point out is just this one here called Account Executive. What we're looking for here is a member of your team who may be the account executive on this account. This one can cause a bit of confusion, so it's just one I like to point out. So we're looking for a member of your team that is the AE, and again, that'll fill over in your system as to who the AE is. There's just the AE field there that doesn't want to highlight nicely for me, just the AE field there in my test system showing for you. Moving back over to the left here, question that comes up quite often is, well, wait a second, we've got this one contact here, but what if we have several contacts at this company? What you'll want to do is just repeat the company information as many times as needed, usually by copying and pasting it. Repeat it as many times as needed with all the same required fields. So let's say they're a supplier, industry type, let's say design. You'll want to make sure this information is all the same. Oh, as I mouse into the future there, active, and then you'll want to put in the other contact name. So let's say and put in all those required details as well for the client level. So you'll just need to repeat that process many times as needed, depending on the number of contacts you have at this organization. Now, another question that comes up once in a while is, okay, well, company ABC is my supplier, but you know what? They're also my client. I'd like them to be in the system as both. So what you'll need to do in those situations is repeat the company name, but repeat it a little bit differently. So we'd want to put in company, in this case, ABC. Let's say they've got Inc. at the end of their name. And then put them in as your client, et cetera, and fill in again all the required fields and put in any staff or contacts you may have there as well. What will happen now is that company ABC will come into the system twice. Once they'll be in the system as your client, and then another time they'll be in as your supplier. Another thing that comes up quite often is, well, what if I'm dealing with freelancers? I deal with a freelancer. Her name is Laura, and she's sort of her own organization. How do I get Laura in the system? Great question. And what you'll want to do is put Laura in both as the company name and as the contact. So let's say we work with, Laura Smith Inc. is maybe her name of her little organization, or you can just leave it as her name. She is a supplier. She's a freelancer. You could label her as such if you would like. She's active. And then you'll also want to put her in as the contact. She is a supplier and she's also an active person. So that's how you would best handle putting in any freelancers you work with. Okay, just looking through my little list, making sure I'm covering everything off here. I think that's what we've got. Now, something I want to just point out before we move on to the staff tab is that this workbook, we realize it's Excel, it's not everybody's favorite tool to work with, but this really is the best way for us to get information in the system. We do ask that this be a one-time import. It really is the best way to go. So if you've got a whole bunch of vendors in the system, save that until you've got your clients on this list as well, because we really only want to do this import one time. That'll make the system the most happy. Also, we do ask that you not rename or move any of the columns around. You're certainly welcome to increase the size of them. You can change the font. Heck, you can even change the color scheme if you'd like. Do any of that you'd like, but don't please, move salutation to the title column or anything like that. That'll really muck things up for us. So we do ask that you leave it in the state that it's in, and then just let us know if there are any questions or concerns about it. Now, to learn more about this, from your system, wherever you are in the system, you're always going to have this help button. Really encourage you to come and look there. There's a section called training, and a lot of what I've talked about today is going to be here in this process overview section. There is a whole section here about the workbook, import instructions, which is what we're talking about today. You can grab a copy of the workbook if you've misplaced the email that one was sent to you in, or if you want a nice fresh one, you can certainly grab it from here. Just going to navigate back to that training section. What we're going to talk about next just getting back to the workbook, is the Staff tab. Staff tab is next here. Now, I did say moments ago, please wait and have the whole import document ready for us before you send it over. That's true on a tab by tab basis. So please have this tab completed, send it our way. But you can send the staff tab first or the staff tab second. We can import those separately. So be encouraged to do that if you've got your staff tab right away. Now, staff, again, can be really easily added into the system manual. We've got a great little video about that. We've got a great little document about that. You're going to be limited to add as many staff as you have seats or licenses and function points. If you've signed up with us and you're a user group of 15, you're going to be limited to adding 15 staff members in the system. So please don't give us the names of everyone you may want to have in the system one day. We're just going to be looking for the names of those people that are going to need function point logins and going to be using the system to track time, put jobs in, etc. So this document, pretty straightforward. We're looking for first names, last names. Let's just put in somebody here by example. First name, last name, a phone extension if they have one. If they don't have one, please just leave this blank. If clients or your staff have direct dials instead. We won't be able to replace that at this time. We'll just need to add that in separately. So if they have an extension, please put it here. Their title, and we're looking for title as in their job title, not as in their salutation. User permissions I'll come back to in a moment, and then their email. So pretty straightforward. Now where that's going to fill in, just want to point out and refer back to function point as much as we can here. Their contact details are going to start to fill in. So let me see if I've got Jeff here in my system. Indeed I do. So as we import your staff, they're going to be populated in a contact details page under your organization with your organization's information, their email address, etc., and they're going to be marked as a staff member. They're also going to populate back in the admin area, and this is an area of the system that we're talking about in our webinar on Thursday, but this is also where your staff list will start to populate. Now, the item I missed here was user permissions. And let me just point out that we offer you, for the first import, 4 sort of permission sets. These are common ones we see that work really well, and they just save you having to go in and get really specific at this time as to what people's permissions are. So we encourage you to pick from amongst these 4, and then we can always get more detailed down the road. Administrators, that's going to be anyone who you'll have your FP primes, your FP sort of major administrative level users. These will be people that have access to everything in the kitchen sink, including stuff about salaries and wages. A little bit less is someone like a traffic manager. So they're going to be able to see everything in the system except the administrative level information. Account executives, a little bit less permissions from that, so they'll see everything in the system except the administrative level and anything to do with the major financial reports. And then last but not least, but yeah, actually least, is the basic user. So basic users are just going to be able to log in. They're going to see their dashboard. They're going to see all the modules, but they're really only going to be limited to just tracking time and tracking time to jobs and tasks. To get more information about that, to get a little more detail as to what each of those include, again, I'm just going to navigate back to my test system, back to the help area. And I'm going to look in this area now, this prime users area. And anyone who's on the call, you probably are a prime user of the system. There is a whole lot of information here, including videos and documents. An area I want to point out to you, just down here, which is where we're at. We're talking about workbook today. There's a great little document here about the import workbook permission settings. And this is talking specifically about this staff tab and what, in more detail, those user settings are all about. Now, like with everything else in Function Point, this is just to get the import done. This does not limit you to making changes down the road. So once you've imported people just with a best guess as to what their permission sets would be, there's no stopping you from getting really, really specific about what people can and can't do, creating more privilege sets or permission sets, or just creating them on the fly per person. Excellent. So that was what we needed to cover today. We've done it in about 20 minutes in spite of my technical glitch there. Sorry about that, Karen. Um, was there anything, Karen, you're welcome to chime in if I think you are able to, if there's anything that you think we should cover in more detail or any questions that have come up that are worth discussing?
Yeah, so we had a couple of questions here. Let me just bring those up. Basically, first of all, Kyle was asking about in Excel, in the industry type, you can type in anything there, and that'll
Absolutely.
import. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that was
absolutely.
an interesting one.
Great
Another
question.
thing was in our contact type. So you know the way
Yes.
we have a drop-down list here, and basically you can choose from those ones.
Hmm.
Well, we can actually add another option here if we wanted to do. And the way we can do that is by going, because I've done this before with a client.
Hmm.
If you go to the data tab in Excel,
That's right. Yeah. The
yeah,
data tab. Now I'm forgetting how to do it. It's the
and
validate, is it?
validate, yeah,
Yeah.
so go to the little and go data validation, first one, yeah. And that's basically going to give you a list. You see source there. We've got client, client staff, staff, prospect. You just put it in a comma and add whatever else you want to. So like billing contact, if you wanted it to
Hmm.
be called billing contact,
Let's
and
try
so
that.
on.
Let's do that.
And
I've
then you
never
hit
done it
OK.
that way. That's really clever, Karen, because what I've done in the past is I have just wiped it out entirely. Oh, there it is. That works.
Yeah.
Because that's
So you'll
another
just need
thing.
to,
Yeah.
yeah. So you just need to drag. See, if you wanted that to appear for the whole list, if you go back to that little that field client, if you go to the right hand corner, like the very right hand corner of that field, yeah, and
Yep.
drag that down. That's going to apply that to everything there. So now you'll have that same option for everything.
Oh, cool. No, well, that's great because something I've shown clients before as well, similar to what you did going to that data validation area, is that I would just remove it entirely. I think you
Mm-hmm.
can just just totally remove it, and you can do that, and certainly put this, then make this whatever you'd like it to be. But yeah, that's actually much more clever, Karen, to just add as many more types there as you like, for sure. And the
Yeah,
same will work on company type. So the same,
exactly.
yeah. No, well done. That's very clever. You are much
That's
better at
all.
Excel than I am, Karen. We've established that. I'm just going to look and see if I had any other little questions on my list. Um, yeah, I don't see anything. I think we've covered most stuff. Now, things like rates and all that much more exciting information, that's going to be discussed briefly on Thursday and probably in much more detail when you are doing one-on-one sessions with your trainer. But if there's nothing else that's,
We have
oh,
one
yeah.
more question here.
Oh, sure.
So Kyle just jumped in there to say, what happens if you import a client that's already in the system? Do you get to review duplicates or select which set of data you want to use?
If you put someone in the system who's exactly the same, so if I put in this line 4, if I made a copy of that and put it at line 9, the system's only going to put it in once because the system's only going to see that as one record. If there was any slight difference, though, so if this line I had company ABC period, it's going to put that in as a completely separate record. So it's not sophisticated to the point that it's going to go, company ABC and company ABC period, that's probably a duplicate. I'm going to give the user the opportunity to tell me which one I should use or merge them together. It doesn't have that layer of sophistication. It's just going to put in a straight second record. And if the record is bang on exactly the same on another line, it's going to assume it's the exact same record and not put it in twice. Hope that answers the question. I think Karen was talking there, but there was a.
Yeah, I was on mute, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
So
That's
he
okay.
so he said we've already added a handful of clients in Function Point, but
Mhm.
are about to import all of them. Some of them in the import worksheet are the same.
That will be okay if you've got a situation where I had, let's say, in my test system here. So I've got a company in here called North Shore Auto Group. Let's say I'd put this all in manually before I was doing the data import workbook. And on the data import workbook, I maybe had not included these two contacts, but I had a couple of different ones. The system's going to merge that in. So those two new contacts would come through to this company organization, but it wouldn't repeat North Shore Auto Group again. So it does have some sort of brains when it comes to that. And I hope I'm answering Kyle's questions accurately here and understanding them correctly. So it would not put North Shore Auto Group in again unless there was any slight difference in the spelling or difference in the spacing. And if Arnold Palmer / president was listed again in the exact same way on the spreadsheet, it wouldn't put it in twice. But if I had North Shore Auto Group on my data import list, spelled the exact same way with maybe another different contact, that contact would be the only thing that would appear here. It would be the only thing that would be added in. It's not going to wipe this record out, though. So anything you've got in your system now, it's not going to get wiped out by virtue of the import. We just want to really do the import once to make sure that nothing like that happens. So it is best to limit it to one big import that we do, but it's certainly not going to interfere with anything you've put in manually. I would just advise to be extra sure that if you've got a company that you've put in manually, that you've also got on your spreadsheet that the spelling is exactly the same.
I think that seems to be clear.
Okay, whew, amazing. Well, if there are further questions, we are, of course, here to help. We can be reached out to at any time, or I really do, again, encourage you to take a look at our community help section. There are training documents on the workbook, adding companies and contacts, adding the staff, a little bit more about that, as well as things about navigation and just a little welcome information here for your Prime users. So lots of information here. Be encouraged to search it as well if you can't find exactly what you're looking for, or if you don't want to scroll through all this giant list of stuff that we're providing as far as information goes. Excellent. Well, we're meeting again Thursday. I assume some of you guys will be on that because it is sort of the next step here as far as training goes. It's all about the admin section of the system. Everything to do with everything under this tab here called admin. So we'll be going through that in some detail and some just sort of high level introduction to what's back there. And we're doing that Thursday, sometime Thursday. So please be encouraged to sign up. And we'll be doing this session again on Workbook same time next Tuesday. So if you want to join in again because you just love learning about Workbook so much, you feel free to sign up. Excellent. Karen, anything else? Should we let everyone get back to work for the day?
I think we should let them go, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's everything.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your help, Karen, and thanks to everyone for joining in today. And we hope you enjoyed the session. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.